I'm gonna say something that sounds backwards. The guys who are usually grinding the hardest to get lean are usually the ones doing it the most wrong. And I hear all the time on consult calls, people DMing me, I'm doing everything right, training my ass off, I'm eating really clean, throwing in more cardio, more steps, even sacrificing sleep to get all this activity in, and the scale is just not moving at all. So I wanna break down why this is happening, why you feel like you're doing everything right, but you're not getting any results, and then also show you how to do less, but get more in return. The first thing we need to get clear on here, and I need to start this video by being a little bit of a dick, so apologies in advance, is if you were doing everything right, you'd be getting the results. So since you're not getting the results, that means you're not doing everything right. And so the biggest problem I see, and I've coined the term for it with a lot of my clients, I call it the intentionality versus intensity conflation. So many guys think they're doing everything right simply because it feels hard. They feel like they're hungry and they're restricting hard foods. They haven't had pizza in 2 months. They're training their ass off. They leave the gym like with their joints beat up and sweating their ass off. And it feels like they're working really hard because they are. And they think because they're working hard, because it feels like I'm restricting, because I'm making sacrifices, therefore I'm doing everything right and I should be getting results. But that's not how this works. That's not how fitness works. That's not how any area of your life works. You know that in areas of life that you're successful in. Like let's take business, for example. You know that if you were working really hard, but you were doing the wrong things, you still wouldn't get results. This is like the famous quote from Warren Buffett, but he says something along the lines of, it's more about the boat you're rowing in than how hard you're rowing. If our goal here isn't to just row harder, it's to put you in the right boat, that's what we need to be thinking about. But before you do that, before we talk about like what is the right boat actually and how do you get in it, we need to reframe a belief, a pattern that's keeping you stuck in this wrong boat. And it is that discomfort, that sacrifice, that restriction equals results in this area of your life. Because it doesn't matter what you're doing, as long as you're operating from that frame, you're going to, over a period of time, fall back into these patterns that are keeping you stuck. What do I mean by this? I've had so many clients who I'm giving them the right tools, teaching them the right things to do. They'll just shoot me a text, hey, I'm getting bonus workouts in. I'm like, well, why the hell are you doing that? And it's because they're still operating from the frame that more is more. It's actually less is more. Fitness can feel relatively easy. I know that's crazy for me to say, but getting in shape, getting lean, it doesn't need to be hard. The times where I've gotten the most results in my life, in the gym, with my diet, I'm kind of like, that's it? I leave the gym, that's it? I could have done more. Yeah, leave it at that. You're gonna get way better results if you don't go do more. First and foremost, get out of the mindset that more is more, that I need to restrict harder, that I need to sacrifice more to get better results. Because one, it's untrue, and two, as long as you operate from that frame, you're just gonna be in a cycle of yo-yoing. You'll do something right for a few weeks, then you'll feel like you need to do more, you'll do more, you'll hit a plateau, you'll burn out, and then you'll start right back over. That's just how this stuff goes. So what's the fix, right? If we come back to what I talked about earlier, intensity versus intentionality, the fix is the intentionality. So we've talked about dropping the intensity mindset and moving towards intentionality. So when we talk about intentionality, what are the levers? What are the things that actually get you leaner? There's really only two things. The first is you need to lose weight. Second is you need to maintain or build muscle, okay? So how do you lose weight? You eat less and you move more. That's very reductionist, but to a point, right? And so to lose weight, you need to be in a calorie deficit, which means you need to control your intake and eat less overall calories. On the flip side, you also need to move more. You need to walk more. You need to burn some calories. And now this is very reductionist. I don't want to just boil it down to eat less, move more, because that advice also fucks people over. So how do we look at that in a way that's actually helpful? First off, track your calories. You want to be in a sustainable calorie deficit. You don't want to just slash this. Like let's say your maintenance calories is 2,500. You want to be eating 2,000 calories, 1,750 calories at the bare minimum. If you go lower than that, you're going to destroy your metabolism. But it's not just eat less, right? And it's also prioritizing the right things, because you could have a diet that's super shitty, where you're just eating a bunch of pasta and processed carbs. You could get in a calorie deficit like that, but you're going to be exhausted. You're going to be hungry all the time. So you definitely need to be eating whole foods 90% of the time, lean proteins, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lots of potatoes as your carb source, things that are going to keep you full and energized. So it's not as simple as eat less, move more. It's just a general principle. And then move more. So if we're trying to be in a calorie deficit, we're looking at, I think the best lever is going to be increasing your step count, making sure it's at a bare minimum 8,000, ideally closer to 12. And why I think from the move more bucket, steps is going to be the best lever we can pull is because walking is going to improve your recovery. It's going to decrease your hunger. It's going to increase your satiety. So after meals, if you go for a walk, you're going to feel more full. It's going to increase your energy, and it's just going to make you feel damn good overall. You're able to do it anytime throughout the day. You don't need to put on workout clothes. It's really simple, no matter how busy you are, to find pockets of your day to get more steps in. Contrast that to cardio, low intensity cardio or high intensity cardio. Sure, you'll burn more calories more quickly, but you'll also get more hungry. You'll feel less satisfied after meals. Your recovery is going to suffer because it's higher intensity. You have to get changed. You have to find time for it. You can't just go for a walk midday. It's the lesser of the options. So that's the weight loss side of things. And then on the muscle retention or muscle building side of things, what are the main levers here? So first is going to be macronutrient balance. Prioritizing protein. You need 1 gram per pound of ideal body weight. And I can put the formula on the screen for how to calculate your ideal body weight, but you do not need 1 gram per pound of body weight, period. Let's say you're 6 foot, 250 pounds. You do not need 250 grams of protein. That's ridiculous. You need maybe 170, 175. And so you eating that protein is going to stimulate muscle protein synthesis. It's going to make sure your body has enough of the raw material, amino acids, to build protein, to build muscle in your calorie deficit. Second is you need to make sure you're eating enough carbs, believe it or not. So when we're talking about macronutrient balance, if you're not getting enough carbohydrates, if you're doing some keto type stuff, you're going to have no energy for the gym. You're not going to be able to progress in the gym. You're going to lose a shit ton of muscle. So that's a no-fly zone. And then fats, you need enough to fuel your hormones. So if you're eating less than 0.4 grams per pound of ideal body weight, what's going to happen? Your testosterone is going to drop. Your cortisol is going to be all over the place. All your hormones are going to be all over the place because they don't have enough raw material, cholesterol, fat, to actually build those hormones. So that's also no good. So for building muscle so far, we have macronutrient balance. Next, we need resistance training, specifically progressively overloading resistance training. So many guys will hop on calls with me and they'll be lifting weights, but they're just going through the motion. They're doing 3 sets of 10 reps. They've been using the same weight for the past 4 years. You need to be on a program where you're getting 6 sets per muscle group per week. You need to be following double progression method, where let's say you have a rep range of 6 to 10, for example. You need to be increasing reps till you get to the top of the rep range, and then increasing weight, and then rinsing that and repeating that. So you're always either adding reps or weight without sacrificing your form or your tempo. Because if you're sacrificing those two things, you're just going to get hurt, and then you're not going to be able to be consistent with the training, and you're not going to be able to make progress because you're hurt. And then the third thing is sleep. If you're not sleeping 7 hours, I don't care if you're one of these people who are convinced you only need 4 or 5 hours of sleep, you are smoking crack. If you think that's all you need, that is delusion, that is not truth. You need at least 7 hours to maintain your muscle, to maintain insulin sensitivity, to make sure that as you're losing weight, that weight is actually fat and you're maintaining the muscle, okay? Otherwise, your body composition is going to look like crap if you're sleeping less than 7 hours a night. There's just no way around this. I don't care that you think you're a special snowflake. You're not. You need at least 7 hours of sleep, period. So now we have the main levers. We have the calorie deficit that's going to allow you to lose weight. We have a way that you're increasing calorie burn. Steps, walking more is going to be the way to do it. And then those are the 2 levers for weight loss. And then we have muscle retention or muscle building, and that's going to be protein intake, overall macronutrient balance with the carbs and fats as well, resistance training, progressively overloaded, and sleep. So let's say you are doing all those things, but you're not making the progress that you feel you deserve to be. Where would I look? So the first place I would look would be your calorie balance. So 9 times out of 10 when someone isn't losing weight, it's because they're not tracking their food or they're not tracking it well. So many times guys will say, hey, I'm tracking my food, I'm eating XYZ calories. Let's call it, I'm eating 1,600 calories and I'm not losing weight. I'm 250 pounds. I should be losing 2-3 pounds a week at 1,600 calories. And my response to that would be like, yeah, you should be. So why aren't you? In some rare cases, there will be something up with insulin sensitivity or their thyroid or something like that that's truly the bottleneck and is preventing them from being able to lose weight. But in most cases, they're just not tracking their food well. They're taking bites from their kids' food. Their tablespoon is really a half a cup. Like, they're not tracking their cooking oils. So their 1,600 calories is really closer to 2,600. It's crazy. You'd say, okay, they're really underestimating by 1,000 calories. Yes. It happens all the time. So if you're not losing weight, the first place I would look is like actually weigh your food, take some time, but prep it out, figure that out. And I guarantee you that's at least going to get you losing about 1 pound a week. Second place I'd look is your steps. So the other really common place I see with people that aren't losing weight is their steps are low. You know, they're doing the cardio, they're working hard, they're sweating their ass off, so they feel like they're working really hard, but they're getting like 6,000 steps a day. So they'd burn way more calories if they just focused on getting 8, 10, 12,000 steps a day and then just drop the whole cardio thing. And they'd be able to get into way deeper of a calorie deficit with tracking their food without it feeling restrictive, because they're walking, they're burning so many calories via walking, and they're not getting hungrier from the walking, and they're improving their recovery. But then on the other side of things, with the maintaining muscle, first place, even though I said it third, I would look with sleep. You gotta make sure you're sleeping well. Because one, everything you do is gonna feel way harder if you're not sleeping. Tracking your food is gonna feel like such a chore. Getting steps in is gonna feel like such a chore. All your neurotransmitters and your brain chemistry is gonna be all sorts of fucked up. So your motivation is gonna be all shitty. You're not going to want to do any of this if you're sleeping like crap. Your hormones are going to be fucked. So doing any of this stuff is just going to feel so hard and like so much of a chore when it's really not that hard. So sleep would be the first place I'd look on the muscle building side of things. And then I'd look at your resistance training. Are you actually on a program? Are you doing progressive overload? Or are you just kind of going through the motions? Are you trying to get a sweat? Are you trying to burn calories? Like, stop the mindset of trying to burn calories when you're in a fat loss phase. I know it sounds crazy, but stop. Like, literally just lift weights 3 times a week, 4 if you really like lifting weights, and then just progressive overload. If you're adding reps and you're adding weight each week, you've done your job. That's it. I actually train way less in a fat loss phase than I do in a muscle building phase. And I don't even feel like I need to train more in a muscle building phase to build more muscle. I just like to train, so I do it. But in a fat loss phase, you need to just do the bare minimum to maintain the muscle mass and then just stop. Because more than that isn't more results. It's just more junk volume that's hurting your recovery and making you hungrier and making it really hard to maintain the calorie deficit. And so if we're looking at this stuff, it's not more work. It's not push harder. That is the last thing we want to do. We just want to get intentional about the few variables that actually matter and make sure we're doing them well. Notice how I didn't say work harder in the gym, spend more time in the gym, restrict harder. That's not the message here at all. Maybe you need to focus on restricting harder, but I doubt it. You probably need to focus on prioritizing more of the right foods and making sure you're eating the right portions of those. And then where you feel like you need to restrict harder, probably at night when you're raiding the fridge or whatever it is, that stuff will go away when you're sleeping well enough, when you're eating the right macronutrient balance. You're not going to have those cravings because your hormones, your satiety, your hunger, it's all going to be regulated. And it's so freeing to just get in the mindset of, oh shit, I actually don't need to do more. I just need to do it right. I need to do these very few things correctly. So the main shift I want you to make here is stop conflating intensity with intentionality and get intentional about the variables that are actually leading to your results. If you want a deeper dive on those variables, I have a video called like Theory of Constraints that talks about each one of the different variables that you need to focus on to actually get really badass results. And if you aren't getting results, how to kind of troubleshoot and figure out which variable is leading to your lack of results. So I'll plug that video somewhere around here, and I'll see you in that one. Cheers.